I ain't the kind to wear a tie, button up from 9 to 5. I tried that life but said goodbye. I'm not always polite, but I get the job done. Who says the work can never be fun? I'm simply unprofessional. Simply unprofessional.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Simply Unprofessional. I'm your host, Webby. Join me tonight, we got Rob.
Hey, everybody, it's Rob.
And we got Devin.
Hey, everybody, it's Devin.
Yo, so this week, we watched a movie. And it was a movie. Devin is particularly, I'm not going to say fond. You are familiar with the films from this particular company, I guess, because you mentioned A24.
Yes.
And that the movie might be a little weird.
Yep.
It was. We watched The Green Knight. Now, I was excited when I first saw this trailer to see it. I like a lot of like the Arthurian legends and anything having to do with King Arthur and stuff like that. The Green Knight is a tale of Gawain and his travels in the Arthurian Legends. Now, these travels take a twist, but I guess the movie to me was predictable, to say the least. It kind of got... It became kind of an ongoing joke as we watched the movie, because everything I joked about during the movie kind of just it happened. But let's get into the movie, I guess. So we have Gawain, who is portrayed by, I will say, it's Dev Patel, I guess is how you say his name?
Dev Patel, yep.
Patel. Now, I know no one in this movie except for one person. And that was Joel Edgerton, and he played the Lord at the end with the weird house with the wife and like the grandma with the blindfold. He was the Lord guy in that whole scene, because I knew he looked familiar, so I wanted to Google it. Other than that, I know no one really in this lineup.
I mean, Dev Patel, he played the older Jamal in Slumdog Millionaire. He was kind of the main in Slumdog Millionaire. He has a decent amount of credits to his name. Like he's the known actor.
I know.
I actually particularly think he was one of the better parts of this movie.
I liked his acting. Yeah, no, I liked his acting.
Not bad. This is how I feel about this movie. This movie, I feel the way I feel about this movie. This movie is what I would like equate to like modern art, and like in the same genre, like a modern art piece, right? So modern art, it's pretty with not a lot of substance to it, in my opinion. And that's kind of how this movie is. It's a very visually pretty movie.
And I do feel that they were trying, like, especially with some of the length in some of the scenes that they had. I feel like they were trying to do it in an artistic manner and not purely for entertainment purpose. You know what I mean?
Yeah, this movie was very long and very visually was well acted and visually beautiful. It just, you could have cut about 40 minutes out of this movie and it would have been better.
Yeah, I agree. The other person that I do...
The movie's 2 hours and 10 minutes long, people. So, like, you're like, 40 minutes out of a 2-hour movie, that's terrible. You got 40 minutes out of the movie, you have an hour and you have a 90-minute movie.
I mean, yeah, there was
that's
one
all
scene...
this movie had to be.
There was one scene, it was like literally 10 minutes long. And you might not think
was-
10 minutes is long until you're sitting there watching the same scene for 10 minutes.
Of him sitting on a horse for 10 minutes?
Of him sitting on a horse, walking towards the camera, and just things kind of happening in the background. But yeah, so back to the actors. I liked Dev's performance. I feel like this is one of the first things I've ever seen him in, and that anything else that I have seen him in, I have not noticed him before. Ralph Ineson, who played the Green Knight, you couldn't. It was hard to tell because of all the makeup and stuff. He has been in a few things. Like he was in several episodes of Game of Thrones, so he looked familiar as well. But Joel Edgerton, again, the guy who played the Lord, he played Gawain in the King Arthur movie starring Clive Owen and Keira Knightley. And he also played Will Smith's police partner in the Bright movie. He was the orc guy. So, those are the two things that I know him from the best, or the most. But yeah, getting into it, I mean, the movie kind of, it's a slow open movie. It's him in a brothel trying to get to somewhere. He's trying to go to church or something. And then eventually he gets cleaned up and he goes to King Arthur's, I guess, the hall. And King Arthur invites him to sit by his side because his mother's not there, who's Arthur's sister, because Gawain is Arthur's nephew, and wants him to regale him with some stories so he can get to know Gawain. Gawain doesn't have any, and then in comes the Green Knight. The Green Knight, literally green. He looks like a tree ant, carrying this big axe, and he has like this branch with a bunch of bushes, like this bush branch on him that he throws to the ground because it's Christmas Day or Christmas Eve, one of them, and he sets down a challenge for a game, essentially. Now this game, there wasn't a lot specified. There was enough specified that, somebody with common sense should have thought about it, but essentially, it was a challenge to anybody in the room to step forward and land a blow against this Green Knight. For anybody who could do so, they were to seek out the Green Knight at the Green Chapel in 1 year's time, and the Green Knight would land an equivalent blow, and then they would part as friends, and the game would be over. That is essentially the challenge that was thrown down.
Now, one thing I didn't understand for this part, like during this part, yeah, it was fine, because the message goes to the queen, and she's like, her eyes turn green, and she speaks in a weird voice. So she's the one actually giving the challenge. But later in the movie, the Green Knight can speak. So why wasn't he just saying these things himself?
For dramatic effect.
Well, that, and I feel like he was summoned by, oddly enough, Gawain's mother and her little coven of people. So I feel like the challenge was not supposed to be the Green Knight's voice through it, because she wrote down all of it, and then the queen opened it up, and that's when she was kind of possessed, and she had that dual voice thing going on. So I feel like the Gawain's mother and her coven of witch practitioners, I'll say, summoned this Green Knight to do this. Whether it be, I don't remember what it was in the original Arthur Legends. If pretty much the story of Gawain was a series of tests that he was supposed to learn from, which ultimately I feel like he did by the end of the movie. I mean, by the very, very end of the movie. But yeah, I don't know. I would have to say dramatic effect and the fact that he wasn't the one, he was summoned to go there and make this challenge. That's my only thing. So Gawain offers to go because none of the other knights are stepping forward, and Arthur can't because he's an old ass man. And he struggles to hand Gawain Excalibur, and Gawain just kind of takes it in one hand, and that they're trying to show you how frail Arthur is at this point. So Gawain squares up with this Green Knight. The Green Knight lays down his axe, leans his head forward, and just holds his arms out. And Gawain kind of amps himself up, wanting the Green Knight to fight back, wanting this to be a duel, one thing or another, and then ends up taking the blow through the neck and decapitating the Green Knight.
Yeah. Also, before he goes out there, Arthur tells him to remember that it's just a game.
It's a game, yep.
Yeah.
And then the Green Knight, everybody cheers, and then the Green Knight picks up his head, holds it underneath his arm, says 1 year, and then starts laughing and rides away.
I think everybody cheered. I think they were all silently looking at him like that was dumb.
No, they all started cheering. There was that pause of what the hell did you just do? But everybody started cheering afterwards.
Yeah, I don't remember them cheering at all.
Yep.
My memory's messed up.
After that, it kind of does some time skips. They show them locking away the axe. Oops, I dropped that. They show him dropping or stowing the axe away in a box, and never using it. And then they kind of skip through time to roughly a year forward because they had to give him time to travel. And Gawain, I feel like Gawain was like, nah, I'm not going to go, but then Arthur convinced him to. Between Arthur and his mother. His mother gave him a green belt that was supposedly enchanted that, if anything were to kill him, it would protect him. At least that's what we were led to believe. And he was given a bell by his hooker girlfriend. And then, he's sent out on his way. And that's where this 10-minute scene comes from of him walking on a horse and then just kids following him and then this shepherd and some sheep go by and it's just literally him on a dirt road riding a horse towards the camera for 10 minutes. Who's the first thing? He meets the scavenger kid next, right? I believe.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's right.
Yeah. So he's traveling. All he knows is that he's supposed to go north. Comes to this crossroads, looks around. The horse just kind of decides to go down one way, and he doesn't stop it, so he just kind of goes with the flow. Travels through these forests, and then he comes to a field where there's just a bunch of dead people. And there's one kid jumping from person to person, looting their bodies, checking them, throwing arrows by hand. That's where we made the joke that he was a monk. And this kid starts chatting Gawain's ear off. Now, I almost even made the comment, this kid just talks too much. If I was Gawain, I wouldn't have said anything, and I would have just kept riding, and I would have failed whatever test this was. But eventually, he made mentions that he knows where the Green Chapel is. And he gives him the directions freely. He just says, yep, there's a river that way, follow that, and it'll lead you right to the chapel. So Gawain thanks him and starts leaving, and the kid gets upset, saying, hey, you're a knight, you can offer me more than just your thanks, you can spare something. So Gawain flips him a coin, and the kid makes it disappear using magic. And then as Gawain travels through the forest, he is met with a woman. You're muted.
I thought I unmuted myself. Before this happens, you guys were like, or one of you said something about the kid being crazy, and I was like, nah, he's just your regular D&D PC.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
looting bodies. He's demanding gold from NPCs
Yep.
for things that they shouldn't have to pay for.
I mean, he really was. And then he sees the girl holding like the knife in the middle of the road, blocking his path, and then he gets like jumped from the side by another girl, and then as they're like holding him at knife point, this kid, the same kid that he gave the coin to, comes whistling down, and they essentially tie him up, leave him for dead, take his horse and the axe, but leave everything else behind. Like they leave his sword behind and everything else. Then there's like a weird scene where like it rotates to the forest and you see him as a skeleton just lying there, and then it rotates again and he's back again.
Yeah, which I think was foreshadowing for the end.
Oh.
You know what happens at the end. Yeah, I think that was supposed to be like, oh, this is why. Because he imagines things like this.
Gotcha. Eventually he Earthworm jim's himself over to his sword and cuts the ropes free and grabs his shit and starts his trek onward. Horseless, axeless, and then what's the next thing? The ghost girl at the pond? Is that the next thing that he does?
Yep, he sleeps in the cabin and then wakes up. He falls asleep in the cabin and wakes up to the ghost girl.
All right. Do you want to explain this scene, Devin?
Sure, I guess.
All right.
Yeah, he falls asleep in like an abandoned cabin or a cottage or whatever. He falls asleep. He gets woken up by a ghost girl. I think her name is Winifred.
Mm-hmm.
Who ask him to get her head from a nearby spring. So he sets off to do that. He comes back. He has her skull. He sees her skeleton in the bed, to which he has the skull. And then he wakes up, and then it cuts the next morning. I think there's a cut the next morning. Or there's like I can't remember what happens right there.
I think it happens right there. Just kind of everything gets lighter, and his axe is now leaning up against the.
Well, and then it gets like lighter, and then it becomes like the next morning, and the axe is like chilling there.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, cool. Yeah. So then after that, that's when he finds the fox. Arguably the best character in this movie.
Yep. Well, he had seen the fox a few times before that, but yeah, this time he actually interacts with the fox because he seeks shelter in a cave, and it's like raining out or storming out or something.
Right, and that's when he finds the like after that is when he runs into the giants.
Yep. And he teaches the giants apparently how to speak fox because the fox howls at them, and then they all start howling.
They learned what does the fox say.
I hate everything.
He's not wrong though.
Yeah, so the giants look like they're about to eat him, and then the fox like barks at the giant, and then starts howling, and then they start howling back.
Yep. I forget it. After that, it's just them traveling so long that he becomes exhausted. He falls down like the side of a mountain. And then he almost collapses due to exhaustion, but the fox wakes him up and then urges him to keep going. And then when they do, they find like this manor, I guess, which from the looks of it, it looked way too big to be a mansion. It looked like a small town from the distance that they were at, but I guess it was just a mansion. And this is where you find the Lord, who is a hunter, and he collapses in there. He gets like a day or two of rest where he can kind of, gather his senses. He can eat. He can relax. He gets hit on by both women, I feel. That old lady with the blindfold, she's a lurker. I'll say that.
I mean, technically, he gets hit on by everybody in
That's
that house.
also true. Yeah, I forgot about when they departed. Yeah. So the young woman like stole his belt, the special belt, and then like made him jerk off to get it back or some shit. That was an awkward thing. And then she took a portrait of him, which also was weird because she just like it looked like she was just rolling water onto a wall. And then she maneuvered like these lenses just correctly that a lightning flash flashed his image. Sorry, I have the hiccups. Flashed his image onto the wall, but it was upside down. So essentially, she just had a wall camera. Anyway, she made him feel more and more uncomfortable. There was a conversation that they had with the Lord, and I don't remember what it was that he was supposed to give him, but the Lord said, "Hey, listen, let's make a deal. Every day before you leave, I'm going to go hunt. I'm going to bring you the best animal that I find. And in return, anything you receive here, you give to me." And Gawain was kind of confused because he hadn't received anything, or he wasn't sure what he would receive from in the house that wasn't already his. I think they were alluding to the wife character.
Mm.
In any case, Gawain got really weirded out by everything, including the creepy ass lurker grandma. That he grabbed all his shit and he ran out of the house. Ran into the forest, ran into the Lord, who then, like, he had, like, this giant boar that was killed with, like, some spears. And then the Lord came up and, like, kissed him. And Gawain's like, "Oh, listen, I'm going. I have to leave." And the Lord's like, "Well, I found this in the, in the woods in a trap. I was going to give them to you at the house, but I'll just give them to you here as a parting gift." And he let the fox go because he had the fox in a bag. They continued on their journey until they found a boat near a river. And then the fox fucking stood in front of Gawain and wouldn't let him approach the boat, and then started talking in a weird double voice. So it was a demon fox. I feel. But in any case, he chases the fox off, goes down the river, finds the temple.
The fox tells him not to go.
Yeah.
And if he wanted to leave and pretend that he had gone, it would just be between the two of them, and no one would ever know.
Right.
And he's like, "No, I have to do this." And then the fox says, "Then why are you wearing that thing around your belt?" Because he said he was doing it for honor or whatever. And he's like, "Well, then wearing that thing around your belt is not honorable. It's not any different. If you want to go on, then leave the belt here." And he's like,
"Yeah,
nah, fam,
nah, fox, you crazy fox." So then he gets in the boat, paddles down, and at the end of the river, he finds the temple. And he waits for like 2 days because he gets there early. He waits for like a day and a half or 2 days or something for the Green Knight's just in a window surrounded by shrubs and just sleeping, presumably. Just his eyes are closed. Finally, the Green Knight wakes up. They have a slight conversation on what day it is. He's very like cordial. He's very like respectful about everything. He's not like angry that the guy cut his head off. But he does bring it back, and he says, "Okay, it's an eye for an eye. Are you ready?" And every time, Gawain thinks he is, he gets down into like on his hands and knees and gets ready to get his head chopped off. He always stops or keels away, and then he ends up fleeing the temple, like a scared little bitch. And this is where I started making more and more guesses or comments and jokes, and they just kind of rapidly started happening. They show him getting back to his home, and he goes to see Arthur on Arthur's deathbed. Then he gets crowned king. Then they show the picture of the hooker lady in bed, pregnant, giving birth. This is where I made the joke that children cost extra with prostitutes. And then once she gave birth to the child, they took it away and threw some coins on her bed and left her. So nailed it, literally. Then they cut forward. They're going over like war maps or something, and the kid that he's raising, he like steps or like pulls down on part of the map and causes all the things to go everywhere, all like the little wooden pieces where they show where troops are and stuff. And we all started making jokes about how the kid's gonna get fucking punished and put out into the middle of the war now. And lo and behold, they cut to a scene where Gawain goes into the front lines and goes into a medical tent or something, and it's his son that's injured and dying because he was put on the front lines.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually it just kind of keeps going and going, and it shows like this, just shows him sitting on his throne after marrying a new attractive princess of presumably another town or another kingdom. And they're being invaded, and everybody leaves him, like literally. And then he decides he takes the belt off, and when he took the belt off, his head fell off. And we had already by this time predicted that it was just kind of a vision he was having. And then it shot back to him at the temple talking to the Green Knight. And he takes the belt off and then says he's ready. And the Green Knight says, "Off with your head." And it literally cuts to black. So that was the movie.
He dragged his finger across his throat and said, "Off with your head."
Yeah. So that was the movie. And I mean, it was complicated. Like, my feelings on this movie are weird. Like Devin said, it's artsy. And it's not that I don't like the movie. I didn't think it was a bad movie. But I'm not rushing to go watch this movie again because it's not my type of movie. Would I recommend it? Yes. I still recommend people go and see these movies. I don't think it was bad, so I don't want to, deter people from enjoying it, especially if they, this type of artistic feel is something that they would enjoy. But I feel like it just wasn't for me on that scale. I can appreciate artsy movies, but I prefer other genres, I guess. What are your thoughts on it, Rob? How did you enjoy the movie, or did you?
It was okay. I'd probably give it like a 5 out of 10. I probably wouldn't watch it again.
Yeah,
but it was entertaining enough.
But my question is this: I guess my follow-up question is this, Rob. Would you call this movie entertaining if you've already seen it?
No.
Or is it like a one-and-done film?
Only a one-and-done.
Yeah, I feel like it's a one-and-done film.
I feel kind of the same way about it, unfortunately.
Now, where would you rate it on like the 1 to 10 scale? Because again, it wasn't bad, but it's not anything that I'm rushing back to watch.
I'd give it like a 5.
Yeah. Now, see, I think I'm in the same boat with you guys. I'd give it like a 5, maybe just over, but not a 6. So, like a 5 or a 5.2.
Yeah.
So, do either of you have what was your guys' favorite parts in this movie? Or do you guys have a favorite part in this movie?
The end.
Fair. Like where?
I really like the giants because it was interesting. The way they made like the giant come up over the hill with the giant hand, and then
That was very pretty. I mean, I guess my favorite part of this movie, I would say, if I had to give like actually answer the question like seriously, I would say would probably be like just the aesthetic of the movie.
Now I don't know why, but the giant scene with all of them marching and stuff, it gave me flashbacks, and I don't even think there was any scene like this, but it just gave me flashbacks to like the Never-Ending Story. Like it had, to me, it had that kind of a feel, like just watching that one scene, and I don't know why. Who's your favorite character in this movie?
Fox.
Well, all right. What about you, Rob?
It's a toss up between the fox and the bell hooker.
The bell hooker? All right. Why did you like the bell hooker?
I don't know. She's just like her attitude and stuff. I just found her entertaining, especially when she was doing the part like moving his mouth. No, it's okay. I will be your lady. I'll let you be my lady. Blah blah blah. Blah.
I think my favorite character is probably the Green Knight. I don't know why. He seems very cordial. Great, even though he was about to chop him dude's head off, but I mean, the dude knew the rules, or did he? He obviously very much didn't know.
Well, no, I don't think he actually did chop his head off. That's why he did the finger across his throat and said, "Off with your head." That was it.
No, we never get to see it. He lifted up the axe. He definitely chops his head off.
No, I don't think he does.
He does. In my mind, theater, he does. Then the Green Knight goes on a rampage and kills everybody.
Okay.
Devin, side note, non Green Knight related.
Uh-huh.
Have you seen? You've watched Teen Wolf, right?
Uh-huh.
So, me and Rob, we're on the last season of it.
Okay.
And we had a conversation last night. I think it was last night. And I asked him, I was like, I feel like I probably would not make a good werewolf. And then I asked him, I said, if I'm gonna ask you the same question. If we woke up tomorrow, right, and I messaged you, and I said, Devin, I was bitten by an animal, and I am a werewolf or a werebear. I'm a were creature of some fashion.
Okay.
What would you say in response to me, and how would you feel towards me after that?
I mean, I wouldn't feel any different towards you. I'd be like, "Where'd you get bit at? Let me go get bit too."
Now, my reasoning here, and the joke that Rob made pretty much was the fact, because Scott, during the whole show, Scott's very anti-murdering anyone, right? Because he's your your hero werewolf, you know. And then you learn through the show that if you have yellow eyes, then you're just a werewolf. If you have blue eyes, that means that you've killed somebody and you feel regret about it, like you've killed an innocent and you feel bad about it. Mm-hmm. And Rob's told me, he's like, you'd be like Theo if you got turned, because Theo he's killed several people, but his eyes stay yellow because he just doesn't feel bad about it. So how would you deal with like me with that? Because my anger issues are going to come to the forefront if I ever get turned into a werewolf.
You'd be all right.
I would kill everybody. I would try not to kill you guys. I would do my very, very best. I'd chain myself up in the garage or something, but I think everybody else in the world, like if I found a dumb person, I don't handle stupidity very well.
I told him every day I'd have to, when I let Matilda out, I'd have to open the door first and be like, Webby, Matilda is friend, not food.
All right. Well, that was the Green Knight. I also wanted to bring up that question to you. I'm glad to know that you wouldn't try to hunt me down or turn me in to any type of government authority so they could test me. That gives me peace of mind if I ever get turned into a creature. The only other thing I gotta say really is Diablo 2 Resurrected came out today, and it is gorgeous. The character models are phenomenal, especially compared to what they were back in the day with the graphics that they had. But other than that, gameplay-wise, relatively the same. I feel like they did make a few quality. I feel like they made quality of life improvements to it, but I can't pinpoint what, if that makes sense. I guess maybe the stash tab. I don't remember them having a personal stash tab and then shared stash tabs afterwards. I thought they were all just shared amongst your amongst your characters on ladder or non-ladder. But yeah, very good, very pleased. I'm not the only problems that they've been having is they've been having server issues and people getting randomly disconnected and stuff throughout the day. Probably because of so many people trying to log in and play it. But yeah. Other than that, how was your day, Devin?
My day's good.
That's good.
My day was good.
We're recording this kind of late. We waited until Devin got out of work.
Can't complain about my day. It's not too bad.
Yeah. You looking forward to D&D tomorrow?
Well, we are playing that tomorrow, aren't we? I don't know why I always think we play that on Saturday, and it's always Friday. But it's fine though.
It's always Friday.
Yeah, I always think it's on Saturday. But yeah, I feel like we played last week, but we didn't.
No.
But that's fun.
We gonna whoop some tournament ass is what we're gonna do.
Probably. Maybe. I don't know.
Don't know me.
I'm just saying, we shall see.
Oh. Alright. If there's anything, do you guys have anything else that you want to bring up? It's a whole lot of cricket sounds, and I hate crickets.
Not really.
I yell at Rob sometimes when he goes to let Matilda out, because once he opens the door, I can hear the crickets outside, and I always yell at him to close the door before the crickets get in the house. God, my eyes twitching just thinking about it. All right, Devin, I have a request from you, my friend.
What's up?
At some point, when you do come to visit, you have to make me one of those grilled cheeses from that video you linked yesterday.
Fair. That's fair. I can do that.
God, I didn't even have
deep fryer.
I didn't even have to. Oh, you could do it in a pan full of oil. Technically,
Make it work. Don't worry about it.
I didn't even have to twist your arm or nothing. There's no convincing you. Damn. All right. Well, with that, I think we're going to wrap up then. Close all these tabs on the Green Knight that I don't need. Also, been watching a lot of Two Broke Girls. Love that fucking show now. I think I'm almost done the entire show. So, yeah. Also, Devin, remind me when we're done recording, I have a different favor to ask you for Mum.
Okay.
With that being said, we need a science corner. Getting real with Rob. I don't know what we're calling. I never know what I call it. Where it's both. Getting real with Rob in the science corner. And we need a life advice with Devin for the week. Rob, do you have anything?
Yeah.
All right, we can start with Rob.
So this week an article caught my eye, which is something I didn't know and was curious about. Is why is everything in our solar system basically on the same plane? Like, with space being three-dimensional, like, why are some planets not, like, below the sun or going, like, in a different circle around it? But everything's basically in the same plane going around the sun. And the answer turned out to be pizza. So I was like, what do you like this?
I love everything that's happening right now.
So basically, it's the same concept of like you taking a big lump of dough and tossing it in the air to make it into a pizza. The force of the spinning makes everything flat in the same plane.
All right, so essentially, the plane, regardless of what kind of angle we're at any given moment, that's the way the sun is rotating. Does the sun rotate? Yeah, of course the sun rotates, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that was
yeah. So basically, everything when the universe was forming, well, when the solar system was forming, it was basically a big ball of like gas and dust, and then as it spun, it started to solidify into planets and stuff. But the spinning like drew it all to that center plane, which is why like Saturn's rings are the same deal. Like the stuff that got broken up and destroyed around Saturn to form its rings are all in the same plane because the rotation is basically like that centrifuge thing where everything's going to end up in the same plane rather than like all scattered all over up and down. Everything's not perfectly aligned, but like they're mostly in the same area.
I have a video that I want you to watch. I watched it this morning, and I kind of followed along because it sounded interesting. Now, essentially, the premise of this video is there is this guy, and he explains what would happen if a needle fell from, space or whatever at the speed of light and hit Earth. And then he came back and he said, okay, no object or something can... He got all scientific, and I guess people bitched at him, and he said, okay, no object can actually reach the speed of light, blah, blah, blah. So he was using it as a 99.999% of the speed of light. Or whatever. And he did go over the whole fact that if it was a needle that did it, it would just burn away in the atmosphere, so on and so forth. But regardless, it's a hypothetical situation, and apparently something along the lines of like if a needle hit like out in like Yellowstone National Park, all of the geysers would just be they would just explode into like a mist into the air and then like fall down as hail or some shit because of the pressure of the earth, as long as the mist reached a certain layer in the ozone or some shit. I don't know. It was crazy. Like all of the detrimental world effects that something would have if anything traveling near the speed of light were to hit us.
Yeah. Also, Yellowstone, gigantic volcano, the biggest on Earth. So if that ever erupts on its own, also very bad.
Well, all right then. All right. So with that, Devin, do we have a life advice with Devin?
Not really, but I can make it happen, I guess.
Oh man.
My life advice, I fucking I know, dude. I ain't got no life advice right now.
Devin doesn't have life advice.
No, I really don't.
No fortune cookie wisdom?
No, not really. Hold on. Internet fortune cookie. Life just being life. I don't know. I'm just... Move quickly. Now is the time to make progress. There you go. There's your life advice.
I have one speed, and it is not quickly.
Well, that's your fault.
It is.
Yep, you should be quicker.
Oh, all right. All right, Rob, with that, where can people find you on the interwebs?
You can find me on Twitter at Confessor_X. I'm on Twitch at twitch.tv/ConfessorX.
And Devin, where can people find you on the interwebs?
You guys can find me on the interwebs somewhere on... I'm kidding. You find me on Twitter at DMP_Pookie. You find me on Twitch at MrD3. And as always, you find me on eBay looking for life advice. I didn't purchase any last week. That's my problem.
Oh, snap. And as always, everybody, you guys can follow me on Twitter at JaxForestWalker, all one word, on Twitch at DMWebby, and on eBay at helping my buddy find life advice for next week. With that, everybody, thank you for listening. Fuck Booster Gold. Da-da-da-da. Ba-da-da-da-bow. Ba-da.